Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you will not miss a future video.
Welcome to the channel, The Tech Piano Player Kid.
A black background with white text that reads The Tech Piano Player Kid displays on the screen with the same text written to the right in Braille. What's up, everyone? The Tech Piano Player Kid here, and welcome to Part 6 of Timecrest 3, Chapter 13. And we found out that Luthor wanted to submit his proposal for the deletion serum, and Scarlet said that she'll do it for him. Now, as we all kind of know, I think we all have an idea what might happen. I'm not going to say what will happen, even though I recorded this introduction after I played the game because I was trying to get this thing finished and then I had to go back and do these. So anyway, point being is that Scarlet said that she offered to submit the proposal for him, for Luthor, under Sol Ignis's name. At least that's how I understood it. And that she's going to tell Sol about it. And I think we all know that Sol is not going to like this. I think we all know that Sol's not going to like hearing what Scarlet did at one bit. And I feel like he's going to go a little too far and possibly maybe report Scarlet and get Scarlet arrested. So anyway, let's do this and see what happens.
Close to the sun.
Description: the pocket watch clicked open. Description: Scarlet is sitting at her dining room table inside the Voldorian living complex.
Okay, sorry guys, I have to get this cable. There we go.
Description: she set the pocket watch in front of her. I submitted Luthor's proposal. I'm going to teleport to my dad's each day and check for a response. And now I'm waiting for Sol to come back so I can tell him about Flame Master. Description: Scarlet is tapping both her feet on the ground. Description: 2 candles, already lit up, sat on the table in front of her. Description: Scarlet placed her elbows on the table and propped her chin up with both hands. I feel so happy right now that I got to help Luthor move forward with something so important to him. Description: she paused. You changed my life, you know? I felt so scared in the beginning to find out who you were and how I've been turned into a Timecrest. And now I can't imagine my life without you and Luthor in it. I know it took me a while to come around, but thank you. Thank you for choosing me to be a Timecrest. System message. Scott. Yeah, I'm glad I made that choice too. 1 of 3 response. I wonder if you'll forget about me if I return to my timeline at the end of this. 2 of 3 what was the submission process like? 3 of 3 responses. Button. Yeah, I'm glad I made that choice too. 1 of 3 response. What was the submission process like?
I'm curious.
Process like? Response. Oh, not bad at all. I just submitted the proposal through Icona Guild's administration chambers. I think mages not associated with the guild have to wait in long lines to submit their proposal. I still had to wait in a line until an administrator was free, but it wasn't too bad. Description: Scarlet heard the sound of the front door opening and closing as Sol entered.
I don't like the music sometimes.
Description: Scarlet took the pocket watch off the table and placed it in her pocket. Description: she stood up from her seat and faced the direction of the door. In a cheerful voice, she said, "My cue." Description: she stood up from her seat and faced the direction of the door. In a cheerful voice. Description: she stood up from her seat and faced the direction of the door. In a cheerful voice, she said, "Welcome home, brother." Description: Sol said, "Let's go to Sandbar Town and hand out more event flyers." Wait, I may have learned a way to defeat the Ruby Dragon. Description: Sol's eyes widened. He rushed up to Scarlet and grabbed her arms. He said, "Tell me." The dragon hunter started practicing with a candle. If we place our hand over the flame and try to go into a trance, we can work our way. My key. And the main idea is to be able to hold a trance.
Oh,
well,
whoops.
Candle is just description. My description. Sol spread out his arms and said, "Candles are everywhere. If a strong description." Sol said, "How is any powerful spell going?" Description. Sol's frown deepened. In a I got description. Scarlet sat back down at the table. Description. Sol frowned with skepticism in his voice. If we place our hand over the flame and try to go into a trance, we can work our way up to Flame Master, I think. Description. Sol frowned with skepticism in his voice. He said, "You think?" Description. Scarlet sat back down at the table. I got 2 candles so we can try together, brother. Description. Sol's frown deepened. In a grumpy voice, he said, "Are you kidding me, Scarlet? I believe in you." Description. Sol scowled and got up, his chair scraping harshly against the ground. He said, "This is stupid." Messenger. Description. Sol said, "You know what's not stupid? I found where the jerk who sold me the faulty dragon egg is hiding." Description. Sol smashed his fists together and said, "I'll go give him a beating right now. That would be a good use of my time instead of playing around with a useless candle. Can I come with you?" Description. Sol said, "Nah, I'm going to intimidate him into fleeing or staying quiet if the old ever finds him." Description. Sol. Volume. Sounds. On. Volume. Speak. 60. Messenger. 65. 60. Words.
Sorry guys, I didn't mean to do that.
Speech
So,
off.
I keep forgetting to turn the speech rate down, and I need to keep reminding myself on that now. Okay. So what happened basically was Scarlet opened the pocket watch, The packet watch. Yeah, it's a packet. Okay, never mind. It's a packet in the shape of a watch. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, so basically, she submitted the proposal. Everything went pretty well, from her understanding. And now Sol's back, and she is trying to explain what happened and how how you can put yourself up to fire mage. And Sol doesn't seem very convinced, and he wants to go and teach this person a lesson for tricking him with this false egg, per se.
Speak. Description. Sol smashed his fists together and said, I'll go give him a beat. Can I come with you? Description. Sol said, nah. Description. Sol said, messenger. Nah. Description. Sol said, and you just don't look very intimidating, Scar.
And basically, Scar asked.
No.
Scar asked if she can go with him, and Sol's like, no, I got this, and you don't look too intimidating. I feel like Sol is
YouTube. Now.
Sol is the type who wants to get revenge all the time. I don't. That's not a good idea.
Description. Scarlet looks troubled. Okay. Be careful and don't do anything rash. Messenger.
Ah!
Description. Sol said, and you stop wasting your time. We'll never defeat a ruby dragon by burning ourselves with a stupid candle. Description. Sol walked out and slammed the door behind him.
Jeez.
Description. Scarlet sighed. Description. She took a deep breath. Please don't do anything rash, brother. Ellipsis. Description. She felt the watch in her pocket. And I guess I have nothing else planned for today. I'm just going to keep practicing with the candle. I'll talk to you tomorrow when I get inside the quarantine zone. Description. She paused and smiled. Luthor should be there too. I'm going to teach Luthor Timecrest how to clean some armor. System message. Scarlet is waiting. Okay, looking forward to seeing you both tomorrow. 1 of 4 response. How's your hand? 2 of 4 response. Do you actually believe Sol is not going to do something rash? 3 of 4 responses. Sol's comment about your blindness being a cheat for trances made me so angry. 4 of 4 responses. Character word.
Wait.
Sol about your blindness being a cheat for trans made me so. Sol's comment about your blindness being a cheat for trances made me so angry. 4 of 4 responses. Sol's comment about your blindness being a cheat. Responded. Sol's comment. Description. Scarlet's expression softened. I'm sorry we made you feel YouTube. No,
Nah.
I'm sorry we made you feel angry. Description. Scarlet ran her thumb across the watch. I don't like hearing that you're hurting for my sake. System message. Scarlet is waiting. Oh, you've made me feel better. 1 of 2 I wish you were angry about this too. 2 of 2. Oh, you've made me feel better. Responded. Description. Scarlet smiled. I'm so glad. Okay, time for more practice. See you tomorrow. Description. Scarlet closed the pocket watch. System message. 11 hours, 59.
Okay. Here's my question.
Speech off.
Like, okay. Sneaky Crab or, okay, Timecrest. I'll just make it Timecrest because it's Timecrest. Okay, Sneaky Crab. Like, okay, I get that they want you to make it look like they're having a long time wait, but in my opinion, I don't want to use skip crystals and keep buying them because it's expensive. So could you go back to using time crystals, Sneaky Crab, just as a suggestion? Because I think that would be very useful in my opinion. Because 689 time crystals for 1 skip crystal, I understand you have to make money somehow. I get that. I personally like the time crystals better because then you don't have to spend like 689 time crystal for 1 skip crystal. Because to me, 689 time crystals, that would be at least good enough for 3. Maybe 4, I don't know. But that's just me. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can half this timer so it won't be as long. And then we'll go from there.
Later that same evening.
All right, guys, I'm back. Once I have more money on my iTunes account, then I can buy some of these, another pack where I can get a little bit more skip crystals and all that stuff.
Responded. Or you. Description. Scarlet smiled. Responded. Or you've made me feel better.
Wait.
I'm so okay. See you. System message. Connect. Description.
Here we go.
Pocket watch clicked open. Description. Luthor is sitting by the cleaning table inside the armor room. Description. Scarlet is in a trance by the window with her hand over a candle. Description. In a quiet voice, Luthor said, I've been cleaning armor all morning. I think I'm getting a bit more efficient. Description. Luthor said, and Scarlet's been in a trance this whole time. Description. Luthor said, I thought I would interrupt her trance with my cleaning, but that hasn't happened. Description. Luthor said, this is most likely what we'll be doing the entire day, but I just wanted to update you on what was happening with us. Description, Luthor said, see you later. Description, Luthor placed his hand on the lid of the watch, but he didn't close it. Description, he looked over at Scarlet and smiled before glancing back down at the watch in his hand. Description, Luthor said, I never expected this to feel natural. Description, Luthor said, when I found out you turned Scarlet into a Timecrest, I was more devastated than I let on. Description, Luthor said, just knowing that I would wake up in some timeline Alvin put me in, without even you beside me, made me feel like I was going to lose my mind. Description, Luthor said, and I did feel close to losing my mind, until I visited Scarlet. Description, Luthor said, I wanted her to know the truth about the watch and you, but I could say it wasn't a little selfish too. Description, Luthor said, I wanted to talk to you again. I wanted to have someone in this timeline that knew what I was going through. Description, Luthor took a deep breath. He smiled and said, now when I breathe, my chest no longer hurts. Ouch. Description, Luthor looked over at Scarlet. She is out of her trance and holding her hand. Description, the candle flame is gone. Description, Luthor rushed over and knelt in front of Scarlet. He said, Scarlet, what happened? I think the candle flame flew at me. Description, he eyed Scarlet's hand. A part of her palm is bright red and the skin looks damaged. Luthor said, Description, he eyed Scarlet's hand. A part of her palm is bright red and the skin looks damaged. Luthor said, you're hurt. Description, Scarlet paused, before a big grin spread across her face. Luthor, I got hurt. The candle flame flew at me, so that means something is happening. Maybe it's a sign I'm on the right track. Description, Luthor sighed. He said, yeah, I think you're on the right track, but I couldn't get excited at seeing you hurt. Description, Scarlet paused. She blushed. Well, you said the dragon hunter was left with scars after he learned Flame Master. Messenger. Description, Luthor looked at Scarlet's hand with concern. He said, yeah. Description, Luthor said, let's get that wound cleaned and taken care of. Description, Scarlet retracted her hand. What if I'm supposed to keep burning the same spot? What if the more pain I feel, the quicker I can learn the spell?
I don't think I'm supposed to work that way.
Description, Luthor said, Scarlet. Luthor, I need to learn this spell. The recruiting event is in a few months and I can't rest until I learn Flame Master. Description, Luthor said, okay, we won't bandage up the burn, but we should at least wash it and put some ointment on it. Description, Scarlet nodded. I have ointment in the closet here and there's a faucet near the tables outside. Description, Luthor placed the watch in his jacket pocket and said, where's the ointment? In a little bag on the top shelf of the closet. Description, Luthor walked over to the closet and rummaged through it. Description, he said, found it. Let's head out. Description, Scarlet's shoes glowed red as she followed Luthor out the door. Description, Luthor smiled at her and said, I don't like that you're in pain, but congratulations, Scarlet. Description, Luthor said, based on what we know about the dragon hunter, what happened with the candle has to be progress. Description, Scarlet turned towards Luthor. She gripped the wrist of her injured hand. I hope so. I really hope so. Luthor, ellipsis.
Oh, there's that note again. That was out of tune. Ah.
I finally feel, Luthor, ellipsis. I finally feel hope that I may be able to protect my brother. Description, Luthor said, you will be able to protect him. Description, Luthor and Scarlet walked over to the faucet by the tables outside the messenger. Description, Luthor and Scarlet walked over to the faucet by the tables outside the armor room. Description, Luthor turned on the faucet. He placed his hand in the running water and tested the temperature. Description, after he adjusted the warm water to cool, Luthor said, may I take your hand, Scarlet? Description, Scarlet nodded. Yeah, thanks, Luthor. Description, Scarlet smiled as Luthor gently held her hand underneath the cool water. Description, she murmured. This feels really nice, ellipsis. Description, Scarlet looks happy. Description, Luthor said, did you say something? The water feels really nice. Description, Riley said, hey, are you Scarlet Ignis?
Hi. Hi.
Description, Riley's voice interrupted the peaceful look on Luthor's face. He looked up and said, Riley, what are you doing here?
I knew it was Riley, just from the music, but
Messenger.
I was just like, hi.
Description, Scarlet gasped. Key Princess Riley. Description.
Okay, that was just... never mind. I'm not gonna say anything.
Key Princess Riley.
I was gonna say something weird. I was gonna say something jokingly. I was like, I'm not gonna do it.
Description, Scarlet tried to bow with Luthor still holding her hand.
Just the way voiceover said it, that's why.
Description, Riley's eyes went from Luthor to Scarlet then back to Luthor. Her glance. Description, Riley swallowed hard and said, I came to speak with Scarlet. I heard she's a very good armor cleaner. Description, Riley's eyes went from Luthor to Scarlet then back to Luthor. Her glance fell on Scarlet's hand that Luthor held in his. Description, oh, ellipsis, thank you, Princess Riley. And also thank you for the information on the dragon hunter you gave Luthor. Description, Riley's eyes widened. She said, oh, I see. So, Luthor was asking for you. What did you want to talk to me about, Princess Riley? Description, Riley said, Description, Riley's voice trembled as she said, I can see you two are busy. I'll just come back another time. Description, Riley turned around and started walking away. System message, Scarlet is waiting. How's your hand, Scarlet? 1 of 2 I think Luthor should go after Riley and make sure she's okay. 2 of 2 responses, button.
I don't know which one to pick. Because I'm like stuck between. I hate when I hate when you have to like stuck between 2 options and you're both want to like check up on the same 2 different people.
How's your hand, Scarlet? 1 of 2 responses, button. I think Luthor should go after Riley and make sure she's okay. 2 of 2 responses.
Let's do that
Luthor
one.
should go after Riley. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Luthor, ellipsis, our counterpart wants to you go after Princess Riley and make sure she's okay. Description, Luthor paused. He said, will you be okay? I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Description, Luthor paused again before he placed the ointment in Scarlet's hand. Description, Luthor said, I'll come back as soon as I can to continue cleaning armor. Take your time. I'll just be training in the meantime. Description, Luthor ran after Riley, leaving Scarlet standing by the faucet with a sad look on her face. Description, Luthor said, Riley. Description, a pair of translucent wings have already sprouted out of Riley's back when she heard Luthor's call. Description, Riley turned around and clasped her hands in front of her, her gaze lowered. Description, Luthor stopped in front of Riley. He said, why did you just run off, Riley? Are you okay? Description, Riley swallowed hard. She said, Luthor, ellipsis, will you fly with me? Description, Riley reached out her arms. Description, Luthor said, I might be too heavy for you to carry now, but I can use my moving air to fly with you. Description, Riley bit her lower lip. She said, right. You can fly by yourself now. Description, Riley winced. She continued to reach out her arms and said, please let me try, Luthor. For old time. Description, Riley winced. She continued to reach out her arms and said, please let me try, Luthor. For old time's sake. Description, Luthor took a deep breath. He said, okay. Description, Riley went behind Luthor, hugged her arms around him. Description, she stood still, tightening her embrace around Luthor. Riley? Description, Riley swallowed hard and lifted Luthor into the air. Description, she said, you're not that heavy, Luthor, as usual. Description, Luthor said, maybe you've just grown much stronger. Description, Riley swallowed hard as she flew Luthor away from the armor room and landed them back on the roof of his home. Description, her translucent wings faded. Description, without looking at Luthor, Riley said, it seems like you have a new friend now, Luthor. What did you want to talk to Scarlet about, Riley? Description, Riley said, oh, I heard she was a great armor cleaner and I was just curious how you two met. Description, Luthor said, I met her at the Valdorian Mage Trials. Description, Riley said, that was so long ago. I didn't realize you two kept in touch. Description, Luthor said, I reconnected with her after I found out she worked in this quarantine zone. Description, Luthor said, and I enjoy spending time with her.
What?
Description, Riley turned pale.
Oh, that's big. Okay, he has to watch. I was like, how are we knowing what's Okay.
Description, she finally looked up at Luthor and said, I hope you're not disappointed in me for not wanting to help you with your memory serum. Description, Luthor said, not at all. I understand why you didn't want to do it. Description, Riley said, did you tell Scarlet about your memory deletion serum too? Description, Luthor paused. He said, no. Description, Luthor said, my serum isn't something I want a lot of people to know about.
I thought you did.
Description, Riley swallowed hard. She said, I'm sorry I told your parents, Luthor, but I really do think it's the best for you if you stopped working on that serum. Description, Riley said, and I won't tell my father, I promise. I want you to stop, but I don't want to get you in trouble, Luthor. Description, Luthor nodded. He said, I believe you, Riley, and thanks. Description, Luthor said, is there anything else, Riley? If not,
Whoops.
Luthor said, is there anything else, Riley? If not, I should get back to Scarlet. I promised to help her clean armor. Description, Riley wrung her hands in front of her and stood in silence. Description, Luthor sighed. He said, you still seem upset, Riley? Is there anything I can do for you? Description, Riley went over to a bench and said, will you, ellipsis, sit with me? Description, Riley looked around the roof. She said, I used to train you on this roof, but we haven't spent much time on it recently. Description, Riley said, so can you sit with me for a while here? Description, Luthor inhaled deeply. He walked over and sat down beside Riley. He said, of course. Description, Riley said, I finally managed to upgrade a spell. Description, Luthor said, good for you, Riley. What spell did you upgrade? Description, Riley said, my healing spell. I upgraded Fleur Magnus to Fleur Magnus, healing petals. Description, Riley said, I feel like High Mage Val Elidor is getting more and more frustrated with me every day. Description, Riley chuckled in a sad tone as she said, he keep 520. Description, Riley said, I think he would be much happier if he were teaching someone like you. Description,
Wait.
Riley chuckled in a sad tone as she said, he keeps on saying to me that it's embarrassing for the Valdorian princess to not have at least Summonus level spell by now. Description,
Okay.
Luthor looked in the direction of the armor room. Description, Riley said, Luthor, ellipsis. Description, she said, has anything been bothering you lately? Description, Riley said, I just want you to know that I'm here and you can tell me anything. I do want to help you. Description, Riley squeezed her hands together and said, you can trust me. So is there anything you want to talk about? Description, Luthor shook his head. He said, no, nothing's been bothering me. Description, Riley swallowed hard. Description, the pocket watch is phasing away from Luthor.
No!
System message, the pocket watch is teleporting. Description, the watch phased into Scarlet's hand. Description, she is sitting in front of her candle inside the armor room. Hey there, good to have you back. Is Luthor, ellipsis, going to be back soon? System message, I'm not sure. He's sitting with Riley on the rooftop of his home right now. One of 3 respond. Yeah, I think he's going to be back soon. Or at least he's trying to get back as fast as possible. YouTube. No. Hey, Scarlet, I'm sorry I told Luthor to run after Riley. I was just worried about Riley, that's all. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. 3 of 3 I'm not sure. He's sitting with Riley on the rooftop of his home right now. System message. I'm not sure. He's sitting with Riley on the rooftop of his home right now. 1 of 3 responses. I'm not sure. He's sitting
Let's
with
be
Riley on-
honest.
Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Oh, I see. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'm going to get back to training. Description, Scarlet closed the watch. System, 11 hours.
I hate when they do that.
Skip timer for 1 skip crystal. You have 0. Skip time. Cancel. Buy more. Cancel. 11. System mess. 11 hours. 59 minutes 39.
Oh well. Okay, I'll be back. Again.
Tomorrow.
Skip timer.
Alright guys, I'm back.
Mess responded. Description. Scarlet swallowed hard. Oh, I see. Okay, I'm going. System mess. Description. The pocket watch. Description. Scarlet is pacing around the armor room holding the pocket watch in one hand and an envelope in the other. It's here. Description. Scarlet clutched the envelope tighter. I'm holding the response from the Master's Council. When I went to check for it at my dad's this morning, it was there. I asked my dad multiple times to confirm it was from the Master's Council and it is. I picked it up and I came straight here.
Oops, sorry about that guys. Did not mean to hit my microphone.
Description. Scarlet's hands are shaking. Luthor's not even here yet. But he'll be here soon. Description. Scarlet took a deep breath. Description. She held the envelope to her forehead. Please be a positive response. Please? Description. Scarlet took another deep breath. Oh, I'm so nervous. Nervous and excited. Description. Scarlet stopped pacing and pressed the envelope against the pocket watch. Let's take a moment and send all our positive energy into this envelope, okay? System message. Channeling all the positivity I can from my world to you. Wah, I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing this
Wah.
special moment with me. 1 of 3 response. I know you're excited, but what are you going to say to Luthor if he gets rejected? It might be good. Say nothing. Channeling all the positivity I can from my world. Channeling all the positivity I can from my world. Description. Scarlet smiled and closed her eyes. Description. She continued to press the pocket watch against the envelope. Description. Scarlet inhaled deeply as she felt the wind blow through the armor room. Description. The wind swirled around and Luthor appeared in front of her. Description. Luthor smiled and said, "Good morning, Scarlet." Luthor, ellipsis. Description. Luthor's glance fell on the envelope Scarlet held out to him in her shaking hand. Description. Luthor took a deep breath and said, "The Master's Council responded." Description. Scarlet nodded. Description. Luthor said, "That came quicker than I thought it would. Being a gold rank mage really helps, I think." Description. Luthor took the envelope and looked down at it in his hand. The envelope felt hard. The material it was made from had a pearlescent shine to it and didn't feel completely like paper. Description. Luthor touched the seal on the back. Description. He said, "A response from the outside world." Description. Luthor said, "Thank you, Scarlet." "Don't thank me yet." Description. In an excited tone, Scarlet said, "I just hope the answer you're looking for is inside there, Luthor." Description. Luthor began to look excited too. Without another moment of hesitation, he opened the envelope and pulled out a letter from inside.
I have a feeling this is not gonna end up well.
Description. As Luthor scanned the words, the excitement faded from his face, replaced by an unreadable expression.
Yep.
Description. The letter read, Petitioner, Sol Ignis, Gold, Icona Guild. Proposal, Memory Deletion Serum. Status, denied. Description. The letter read, Petitioner, Sol Ignis, Gold, Icona Guild. Proposal, Memory Deletion Serum. Status, denied. Description. Scarlet's expression is tense. What does it say, Luthor? Message. Description. Luthor continued to glance at the letter. Description. The letter read, Furthermore, the Masters Council hereby unanimously decide for memory deletion to be classified as forbidden, to which any form of development will be banned. Description. Luthor snapped his gaze away from the letter. He closed his eyes and shook his head. After a long moment, he looked back at the letter. Description. The letter read, Sol Ignis must cease all activity on this project and hand over to the Council any developments made so far. Failure to do so will result in repercussions. Description. Luthor's eyes ran over the words unanimously, forbidden magic and banned. Luthor, ellipsis. Is everything, ellipsis. Description. Scarlet swallowed hard, her expression morose before she could finish her sentence. Okay. Description. Luthor closed up the letter and put it back into the envelope. Description. In a hopeless tone, Luthor said, The Council banned memory deletion. My serum is now forbidden. Description. Scarlet covered her mouth as she heard the tone of Luthor's voice. Luthor, ellipsis. It's not over. We'll figure something out together. Description. Luthor didn't seem to hear Scarlet. He mumbled. Description. Luthor didn't seem to hear Scarlet. He mumbled. Unanimously banned. Description. Scarlet faced Luthor's direction, her expression worried.
Unanimously. What does that mean?
Description. Luthor dug a nail into his palm. He stood quietly for a long moment before saying, They don't understand like he does. Description. Scarlet's breath caught in her throat. Like he does, Luthor? Description. Scarlet paused and swallowed hard. Are you, ellipsis, talking about Alvin? Description. Luthor didn't reply to Scarlet. Luthor, you're not thinking of contacting Alvin, are you? Remember, you have me. I support you and we'll figure something out together. Description. Scarlet moved towards Luthor when the door of the armor room swung open. Description. Luthor disappeared into wind. Description. Voldorian guards walked in. One of the guards said, Scarlet Ignis, we need a moment with you. Description. Scarlet looked surprised at the intrusion. Me? Can you come back later, sir? Now is not a good time. Description. Rita shouted, Scarlet. Description. Scarlet gasped at the sound of Rita's voice. Description. Scarlet moved towards the guards who are sandwiching a frantic-looking Rita and her enraged-looking mother. What's going on here? Description. Luthor remained as wind and observed the scene unnoticed.
What?
Description. One of the Voldorian guards said, Do you know the Sunclairs, Scarlet? Description. Scarlet nodded, her expression apprehensive. Description. In an indignant voice, In an indignant voice, Guildmaster Sunclair looked at the guard and said, Why did you bring us here? Description. The Voldorian guard said, We need Scarlet to corroborate Sol Ignis' story. What story? Description. The guard said, Your brother has accused the Sunclairs of being human. Description. The guard said, Sol provided a photo of young Mrs. Sunclair with her sister, a woman that is known to be human. Description. Scarlet covered her mouth. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair scoffed and said, My sister. Are you joking? Anyone can see that the woman in the photo looks nothing like me. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair said, It's just a random woman I happened to take a picture with a long time ago. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair waved her hand and said, I thought she looked pretty so I took a picture. I didn't even know she was human. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair said, Why don't you find this woman in the quarantine zone and ask her yourself? She probably won't even remember who I am. Description. The guard said, The woman in the picture has already passed away. Besides, her file says she has no living relatives.
What is going on?
Description. Guildmaster Sunclair and Rita both tried to mask their dismay unsuccessfully. Description. After a moment, Rita said, Scarlet. Description. Rita said, Scarlet, tell them Sol's lying. He's just angry I broke up with him. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair turned to the Voldorian guard and said, Sol dated my daughter for a while before they broke up. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair crossed her arms and said, Why didn't he report us sooner? Don't you think it's a little strange Sol waited until after my daughter ended the relationship to report us? Description. The guard said, Sol Ignis claims he only recently found out about your human lineage. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair shook her head. She cleared her throat and said, You should also know that I was going to expel Sol Ignis from my guild. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair said, That boy has every motive to hate me and my daughter. Description. The guard said, Mrs. Sunclair. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair said, Guildmaster Sunclair. Description. The guard said, Messages, now, 48,000. Description. Guildmaster Sunclair said, Guildmaster Sunclair.
Wait,
Description.
hang on, what?
The guard said, Mrs. Sunclair. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, Guildmaster Sinclair.
Oh, okay.
Description, the guard said, Guildmaster Sinclair, we will set you free if Scarlet does not corroborate her brother's story. Description, Scarlet's heart began pounding faster. She felt her face, her ears, growing hotter. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, that's just silly. Scarlet is Sol's sister. Of course she's going to lie for him so he doesn't get punished for making a false accusation. Description, Rita said, Mom, Scarlet's not like that. She'll do the right thing. Description, Rita said, right, Scarlet? You'll do the right thing here, won't you? Description, Rita said, the punishment for messenger. Description, Rita said, the punishment for making a false accusation is only 1 year in jail and a public apology. Description, Rita said, my mom and I don't need the public apology and 1 year in jail is nothing compared to a lifetime in a quarantine zone. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, what Scarlet Ignis says should it matter? Right now, it's our word against Sol's. Description, she said, so you will let me and my daughter go this instant. Description, the guard said, it does matter what Scarlet Ignis says, Guildmaster Sinclair. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, you must be joking. Explain to me why it matters.
I am so confused.
Description, the guard said, obviously, this photo alone is not enough proof, but Sol Ignis also claims that you are hiding other proof to your human lineage. Description, the corner of Guildmaster Sinclair's mouth twitched ever so slightly. Rita curled her hands in Vorit. Description, the corner of Guildmaster Sinclair's mouth twitched ever so slightly. Rita curled her hands into fists. Description, the guard said, normally, we put the accused in a holding cell until a full investigation is finished. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, that's ridiculous. I am an iconic guildmaster. I have busy work to attend to, including the investigation of Sol Ignis for murdering multiple of his guildmates. Description, the guard said, we understand, but humans have been known to destroy evidence once they are accused.
Normally?
Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, I will not have my time wasted simply because a scoundrel decided to make up a lie so he can get revenge on my daughter and me. Description, the guard said, rest assured, Sol Ignis will be punished if we find out he made a false accusation. Description, the guard said, and you have nothing to worry about if we find no further evidence indicating your human lineage, Guildmaster Sinclair. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair shook her head. She said, this is a ridiculous waste of my precious time and you still haven't explained why we're here talking to Scarlet Ignis. Description, the guard said, we have considered your position as a guildmaster and Sol's bad behavior when you worked for us inside the quarantine zone. Description, the guard said, Scarlet Ignis, on the other hand, has a very good reputation. Description, the guard said, if she doesn't corroborate her brother's story, we are willing to let you go while we investigate Sol's claim to maintain a good relationship with Icona Guild. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair swallowed hard and looked nervously at Scarlet. Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, and but if Scarlet lies? Description, the guard said, then she and her brother will both be punished, her brother more so, once the investigation is over. You have nothing to worry about, Guildmaster Sinclair, if you're innocent. Description, the guard said, but Scarlet's word now will help you sleep in your own house tonight instead of a holding cell.
Wait, whoa, what?
Description, the guard said, but Scarlet's word now will help you sleep in your own house tonight instead of a holding cell. Description, the guard said, Walter also does not want to waste the valuable time of a guildmaster if we don't have to. Description, Rita moved to Scarlet. Description, the guard said, what are you doing? Description, Guildmaster Sinclair said, stop treating my daughter like she's a criminal already. Description, Rita looked at the guard and said, I'm just going to give Scarlet a hug. She just found out what a horrible person her brother is. Description, Rita said, Scarlet and I are friends. Let me comfort her please. Description, the guard paused before nodding. Description, Rita hugged Scarlet. Scarlet trembled in Rita's embrace. Description, ever so softly, Rita whispered, Scarlet, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in here. Please help me. Description, Rita whispered, I just need a chance to destroy the evidence. Description, Scarlet held her breath. Description, Rita let Scarlet go. Description, she said, 1 year will pass by so quickly, Scarlet. Description, Rita said, Scarlet, I know you will do the right thing. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Description, she lowered her head, her heart beating rapidly. Ellipsis. Description, Rita took one of Scarlet's hand into hers and said, go ahead, Scarlet. Let the guards know Sol falsely accused my mom and me. Description, Scarlet's expression is torn as she felt the warmth of Rita's hand. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard again. My brother isn't lying. Description, Scarlet cringed as she felt Rita let go of her hand. Description, Rita fell silent as she eyed Scarlet with a stunned expression. Description, Scarlet shook as she felt a gentle wind around her. Description, in a raspy voice, Rita said, what did you say, Scarlet? Description, Scarlet swallowed hard again. I said my brother isn't lying. Description: Rita took a step back from Scarlet. Guildmaster St. Clair sent Scarlet a look as if she wanted to kill her. The woman in the photo is Guildmaster St. Clair's sister. My brother was shocked and saddened to find out he had been dating someone with human lineage. The St. Clairs have more evidence of their lineage hidden inside their house. Description: Rita slapped Scarlet. Description: Rita swallowed hard and eyed Scarlet. She said, "I wish I never met you, or your brother." Description: The guards took the St. Clairs away. Description: The door shut with a deafening thud behind them. Description: Scarlet touched her cheek where Rita slapped her.
Ouch.
System message: Scarlet is waiting. Oh no, are you okay, Scarlet? One of four was. I couldn't believe you didn't help Rita out. What if Walter ends up messenger? Hey, Scarlet, can you check on Luthor? 3. I couldn't believe you didn't help Rita out. What if Walter ends up secretly killing her off? What were you thinking, Scarlet? 2 of 4. Oh no, are you okay, Scarlet? Oh no.
Let's do that
are you
one.
okay, Scarlet. Response. Description: Luthor reformed in the room. Description: He said, "Was that young woman your friend, Scarlet?" Description: A fearful expression spread across Scarlet's face as she realized Luthor's presence. Description: Scarlet closed the watch. System: 23 hours. Skip timer for 1 skip crystal. You have 0 skip crystals. Skip time. Cancel. Buy more. Cancel. Back. Chapter 30. The current year. 36 time crystals.
Of course. All right, guys. So now it's 24 hours, which is ridiculous, but I have no way of going around this. So I'll be back.
24 hours later.
All right, guys. I finally got this to work. It's now the pocket watch is now open.
Description: A fearful expression spread across Description: Scarlet closed the watch. System message: Connection lost.
So where were we?
Description: He said, "Was that young woman your friend, Scarlet?" Description: Luthor reformed in the room. Description: Scarlet closed the watch. System message: Connection lost. Description: Speaking volume. 65%. 6 word. Description: A few months passed.
So in Timecrest's time, or wherever Scarlet is, a few months has passed, but in our time it's 24 hours. I would never understand the time difference between these two worlds.
Description: The pocket watch clicked open. Description: Scarlet touched the face of the watch gently with her fingers. Her expression a mix of emotion. Description: Scarlet touched the face of the watch gently with her fingers. Her expression a mix of emotions. It's been a while. Description: She sighed. In a soft tone, with a guilty expression, Scarlet said, "Too long for me. I wanted to talk to you earlier, but I didn't know how." Description: Scarlet is wearing a soft blouse, shorts and ankle boots. A gentle wind blew through her loose red hair. Luthor, ellipsis. Description: Scarlet closed her eyes for a moment as the wind died down. The wind reminds me of Luthor, of what I left behind. I suppose, ellipsis, that's part of my punishment. I want to see him again, but... Description: Scarlet wrapped her arms around her. But how could I ever face him again? Description: She is sitting on a wooden bench in the backyard of a house, near a vegetable garden. After what I did to Rita, I had a hard time facing anyone, let alone you or Luthor, ellipsis. I quit my job in the quarantine zone and I came back home to Ravenswood. And I've just, ellipsis, been here these last few months. I can still hear how hopeless Luthor's voice sounded after his memory deletion serum got rejected by the Master's Council. I should have been there to support him like I said I would. I told him he had
Don't blame him.
Ellipsis. Description: Scarlet looks pained
I don't
and
blame
she buried
Scarlet
her face in
either.
her hands for a long moment. I'm nothing but a liar. Description: Tall trees cast cool shadows on the surrounding area. Birds and insects chirped in the distance. I'm not sure if you're even there and listening to all of this. Description: With a wistful look, Scarlet said, "I'm still not really sure how this pocket watch works. Luthor, ellipsis." Description: Scarlet lowered her head as she said his name. Luthor would be confident that you would still be here. But I wouldn't be surprised if you thought I was a horrible person. I wouldn't be surprised if you never wanted to talk to me again. Description: Scarlet swallowed hard. That's probably how Luthor feels about me now. Description: Scarlet paused and tilted her head
That's not
upwards
true.
towards the cloudy sky. Description: Scarlet lowered her head. She touched the face of the watch with one finger, a guilty look on her face. I took you away from Luthor too. I thought about going back to the quarantine zone and sending him the watch through the letterbox, ellipsis. But I just couldn't bring myself to go. Every time I thought about going, I remember how hopeless his voice sounded, ellipsis. And I get scared. That Luthor might, ellipsis. He might call out for Alvin if he had the watch. Description: Scarlet looks joyless. She took a deep breath, her nose filling with the scent of fresh forest. The sounds of rustling leaves and flowing water can be heard. You know, ellipsis. I was afraid and overwhelmed by the situation with Alvin, ellipsis. But those moments I spent with you and Luthor together made me feel, ellipsis, happy and beautiful. Description: Scarlet squeezed the pocket watch, a longing look on her face. Description: Scarlet touched the rough, scarred skin of her palm that held the watch. But I don't deserve to feel beautiful anymore. Description: Scarlet ran one finger across her scarred palm, feeling the twisted flesh. Some of her forearm and even a bit of skin above her collarbone have been scarred. Today is the Iconic Guild recruiting event. I've continued my training in preparation for this day. I'm going to give it my all to help my brother in any way I can if he needs it. But if I should die, ellipsis, I hope, ellipsis. I hope you will still revive me. Description, Scarlet looks uncertain. She swallowed hard. I still don't know quite how your powers work. I do know that it's asking a lot at this point for you to help me. Especially since I didn't even open the pocket watch in these last few months. Both you and Luthor deserve more than what I have to give. But please, ellipsis. Description, Scarlet got off the bench and knelt down on the ground with the pocket watch clasped tightly in both hands. I know that loving my brother has made me into an ugly person. I gave up Rita to the Voldorians. They could have already secretly killed her off, ellipsis. I let you and Luthor down, two people I claim to care a lot about. Description, Scarlet squeezed her hands together, with the pocket watch in between. But I can bear any hate, any pain, any punishment, as long as Sol's safe. Please help me protect what I have left. So I beg you, please revive me if I die today so I can support my brother for as long as possible. System message, Scarlet is...
Okay. So, Sol. Okay. Sol seems to be still doing whatever he's doing.
You don't have to beg me, Scarlet. You're being too hard on yourself again. I feel bad for Rita, but I don't think you're an ugly person for loving your brother so much that you're willing to do anything, Scarlet. Your unconditional love is what's so special about you. 2 of 5. I don't know if I want to help you, Scarlet. I'm frustrated that you still want to protect your brother even though all he does is hurt people. 3 of 5 responses. Button.
See, I feel like she's being a little too hard on herself, but at the same time, you know what?
You don't have to beg me, Scarlet. I don't think you need my help, but I'll still be there for you. 1 of 5 responses.
Let's just do that
You
one.
don't have to beg me, Scarlet.
That's just nicer.
Description, Scarlet. I don't know. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. Description, a male voice called out, Scarlet, breakfast is ready. Description, a middle-aged man with a worn-out face and pepper-colored hair stood on the back porch of the house. The man's shoulders are slumped and he looks pale and in poor health. Description, Scarlet knelt for a moment longer before getting up from the ground. Coming, dead. Description, her father eyed his daughter with worry before walking back into the house. Description, Scarlet wrapped the chain of the watch around one of the belt loops of her shorts before following her father. Description, the house is made of wood and the inside is plain, but cleanly kept. Description, Scarlet's father is already sitting down at the dining room table. He eyed Scarlet with concern as she sat down. Description, 2 plates of fish with vegetables sat on the table. Description, Kane took a bite of fish. He said, "What were you doing kneeling outside, my sweet one?" "I was, ellipsis, praying." Description, Scarlet's father placed down his eating utensils and reached one hand towards his daughter. Description, he took Scarlet's hand into his. Kane caressed Scarlet's scarred palm and said, "What were you praying for, Scarlet?" "For the strength to protect my brother always." Description, Kane frowned. Description, he let out a long sigh and said, "You haven't smiled since coming home, my sweet one. What has my senseless son put you through this time?" Description, Scarlet sat at the table with her head lowered. She hasn't touched her food. Description, Kane squeezed Scarlet's hand. He said, "Your hand. Your arm." Description, Kane eyed Scarlet's neck and said, "Even your neck has scars now, all because you've been training non-stop for this guild recruiting event." Description, in a frustrated tone, Kane said, "Why do you need to train so hard for this event? Will it be dangerous like the Voldorian mage trials?" "That depends on Sol." Description, Kane sighed again and said, Please forget about your brother, my sweet one. Let him ruin his own life like he undoubtedly will do.
I feel like
Sol's
that's really
going
hard to
be the
do.
next master of fire, Dad. And I'm going to do everything I can to help him." Description, Kane let go of Scarlet's hand and squeezed his hand against his forehead. Description, Kane said, "He's your older brother. Sol's supposed to be protecting you, not the other way around." Description, Kane said, "I wish I was there for you more when you lost your sight, my sweet one." Description, Kane said, "If it weren't for your mother, I would have had more energy." Description, Kane said, "If I had made more time for you, then you wouldn't have gotten so attached to Sol." "It's not just that, Dad. I'm not risking everything for Sol just because he was there for me when I needed it." Description, Kane said, "Then what? How does your brother keep getting you to do things you don't want to do?" "Because, ellipsis." Description, Scarlet lifted her head slowly. "Because protecting Sol always felt right." Description, Scarlet's voice is strong and firm. "It feels right, Dad." Description, Kane furrowed his brows. He said, "Oh, my sweet one, ellipsis." Description, Scarlet turned her head towards her dad. "Dad, I've killed people. I, ellipsis, even hurt people that I care about deeply for Sol. Those things felt so wrong, but protecting Sol has always felt right." Description, Kane looked unsure of what to say. He glanced at Scarlet with pity as he murmured again, "Oh, my sweet one, ellipsis." System message, Scarlet is waiting. "What happened to your mom, Scarlet? Can you ask your dad how he feels about Luthor's mom?" 2 of 3 responses. Button.
So, yeah, this is pretty intense. And just letting you know, guys, it will get more intense, if I remember correctly, because Sol will... let's see.
What? Can you ask your dad how he feels about Luthor's mom?
Let's actually ask that.
Can you ask your dad how he feels about Responded. Description. Scarlet's expression softened. Description. Scarlet's expression softened. I saw Miss Helena again. I saw her before during the Voldorian Mage trials, but more recently inside the quarantine zone where I worked. Description. Kane swallowed hard. He picked up his utensil and poked at his fish with it. He said, "Oh, ellipsis. You never mentioned you saw her during the mage trials." Description. In a bitter tone, Kane said, "Is she still with, ellipsis, ellipsis?" Description. Kane waved his hand in the air and said, "With, what's his name again? Julius. Yeah. She's still married to Julius and they live together inside Voldor's quarantine zone with their 2 children." Description. Kane looks pained. He said, "Oh, I see. So she gave up her freedom for him." Dad, ellipsis, I think Miss Helena still cares about you. She was worried about your health. YouTube, now, Nick Nimmin, your tube up. Dad, ellipsis, I think Miss Helena still cares about you. She was worried about your health. Description, Kane smiled, tears coming to his eyes. He took a deep breath and reached inside his jacket and pulled out a photo. Description, the photo showed Kane with Helena, Scarlet, and Sol. Kane is smiling, with his arms around Helena. Scarlet looks happy and Sol has a flickering flame floating on his palm. Do you still care about Miss Helena? Description, Kane touched his smiling face in the photo. Description, a frown on his face. Kane said, No, I don't anymore, my sweet one. Description, Kane put the photo back into his jacket. Description, the sound of the door opening can be heard. Description, in a suspicious tone, Kane said, Who's there? Description, Scarlet covered her mouth and murmured, That has to be Sol, Dad. Description, Kane frowned just as Sol walked past the dining room table. He stopped when he saw Scarlet and his father. Description, Sol said, There you are, Scarlet. Let's talk. Description, Scarlet looks a mix of emotions. She nodded. Sure, ellipsis. Sol, how have you been doing lately? Description, Sol said, I've just been prepping for a recruiting event. The people who come today are in for a real treat. Description, Sol smirked and said, But I'll be the first to admit that it's a little disappointing the old hag won't be there to witness my glory. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard.
Here's that word again.
Sol said, Oh well, if only Rita had listened to me she would be free right now, but instead she thought she found a better man than me. Description, Sol grinned and said, Where's that guy now when her and the old are both rotting inside a quarantine? Rita's too stupid to deserve to live in my world. Description, Scarlet inhaled deeply and didn't say anything. Description, Kane scowled and said, I heard you want to become the next Master of Fire, son. Description, Kane waved his hand and said, Listen, I don't care anymore what you do with your life, Sol. Description, Kane said, But whatever crazy plan you have, keep your sister out of it. What is this recruiting event you're both going to? You should be protecting her, not the other way around. Description, Sol narrowed his eyes at his dad. After a moment, he smirked. Description, Sol said, What did you just say, old man? If there's anything I've been doing, it's been protecting Scarlet. Description, Sol said, Why do you think I haven't told her that I'm your punching bag yet? Description, Kane looked stunned as color rapidly drained from his face. He started coughing. Description, Scarlet reached out in her dad's direction until she found his arm. She placed her hand on her dad's arm as he continued to cough. Dad, are you okay? Description, Kane finally stopped coughing. He shot Sol an angry glare and said, Get out of my house. Dad, ellipsis, what is Sol talking about? Description, Kane gripped the armrests of his chair. Description, Kane placed his hand over Scarlet's hand that's on his arm. He sputtered, Don't listen to him, my sweet one. Description, Sol said, Our dear old dad used to hit me all the time after you went blind, sis. Description, Sol said, I wanted to protect you from the truth, Scar, but now I think knowing the truth about people is the better way to go. Description, Sol said, Our dad has a lot of hate in his heart. He used to direct it at me, but now that I've moved out, I wonder who our dad's new punching bag is. Description, Sol eyed Kane and said, Are you finally going to beat your blind daughter too? Description.
Okay, whoa. Don't jump to conclusions there, boy.
Kane slammed his hand on the table. He said, Never. Description, Kane looked at Scarlet and said, I would never hurt you, my sweet one. Description, Scarlet covered her mouth. After a moment, she murmured, Did you really beat my brother, Dad? Description, Kane looked scared. He said, Your brother had a bad temper and an ego to match your mother's. Description, Kane said, I gave it all I could to make my family happy and yet it wasn't enough for your mother or brother. Description, Kane squeezed Scarlet's hand and said, But you are happy with me, right, my sweet one? I'm so glad you're home now. Description, Sol rolled his eyes as Scarlet retracted her hand away from her father. How could you, Dad? Description, in a pleading voice, Kane said, Scarlet, please, ellipsis, don't listen to your brother. He's lying. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. So you didn't hit Sol, Dad? Description, Kane took a deep breath. He said, I might have slapped him around here and there, but nothing serious. Sol is making me sound much worse than how I actually was. Description, Kane said, Your brother is strong and healthy. I never dished out more than he could handle. Description, Scarlet shook her head. Not all the bruises you had as a kid were from schoolyard fights, were they, brother? Description, Sol said, Most of them were from our dad. I just picked fights at school so people wouldn't question why I had so many bruises. Description, Scarlet got up from her chair, rushed to Sol and embraced him. Tears flowed down Scarlet's face. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Description, Sol patted his sister's head and said, I took care of you, didn't I, Scar? Yes, thank you, brother. Thank you. Description, Kane reached out his hand to Scarlet and said, come here, my sweet one, ellipsis, please come here. I don't think I... Health.
Whoa!
I don't think I can stay in this house anymore.
Too many notifications!
Kane looks shattered. He shook his head and said, no, please don't say that, my sweet one. Please don't leave me too. Description, Sol looked at Kane with scorn. He said, you never change, Dad. You're pathetic as always. No wonder women keep leaving you. Description, Sol said, come on, Scar. I still need to talk to you and today is my big day so I don't have time to waste. Description, Kane trembled in his chair. Scarlet followed Sol out of the house. You should have told me sooner about Dad. I understand why you hate him now. Description, Sol looks impatient as he said, did you submit a proposal to the Master's Council about memory deletion under my name? Description, Sol said, one of the minions of the Master's Council found me. Said he wanted to follow up and make sure I wasn't working on memory deletion anymore. Description, Scarlet turned pale. I did. Description, Sol crossed his arms with a frown as he said, but memory deletion? No way you came up with that idea, Scarlet. Description, in a low voice, Sol said, so I figured, memory deletion was Luthor's idea, wasn't it? Description, Scarlet looks uncomfortable as she pursed her lips and nodded. Description, Sol sneered as he said, I knew it. Description, he spat on the ground and said, although while I was questing and earning gold for us, you were going behind my back and helping my enemy. Description, a fearful expression crossed Scarlet's face. She shook her head. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, brother, but Luthor is not your enemy. Description, Sol looked at Scarlet with astonishment. In a harsh tone, he said, unbelievable. You're defending him. Description, for a moment Sol looks hurt. He said, do you love him or something? Description, Scarlet paused. I love you, brother. Description, Sol looked at Scarlet. His bottom lip trembled a bit. Description, he closed his eyes. After a moment.
Whoa!
Description, he closed his eyes. After a You too.
People stop messaging me,
He
please.
closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened his eyes, looking more confident. Sol said, of course you love me. You wouldn't choose a jerk like Luthor over me. Yes, I love you, brother. I love you so much. Description, Sol said, okay. So tell me, what was Luthor planning to do with this memory deletion serum? Description, no. Description.
Whoa, what the heck?
Sol said, then tell me what Luthor was planning to do with the memory deletion serum. Description, Scarlet lowered her head. Description,
There we go.
Scarlet lowered her head. In a soft voice, she said, Luthor, ellipsis. System message, Scarlet is waiting. Don't do it, Scarlet. He might use the information. Don't do it, Scarlet. Don't do it, Scarlet.
Yeah, let's tell her don't do it.
Responded, don't do it, Scarlet. Description, Scarlet froze. Description, Sol eyed his sister, looking more and more annoyed by the second. He said, I'm waiting. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Description, Sol growled and said, Scarlet, you're hiding something from me, aren't you? Description, Sol said, Luthor does mean something to you, doesn't he? Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. He means nothing. Description, Sol grabbed the watch that hung on Scarlet's shorts. In a disgusted tone, Sol said, if he means nothing, then why are you wearing his pocket watch still? Description, Scarlet froze. Description, Sol said, why, Scarlet? Why do you still have the jerk's watch? Ellipsis, there's something I have to tell you about the watch, Sol. The voice I heard when I found the watch belongs to a human from the human world. This human has the power to revive me and freeze time in our world, and control dragons. This human is the one who revived me after I died helping Mr. Barbella. This human is the one who saved everyone from the Ruby Dragon. The reason I have the watch still is because it connects me to this human. It's not because of Luthor. Based on what this human could do, the connection is valuable to maintain, don't you think, brother? Description, Sol looked at the watch. He looked at his sister. Sol started chuckling as he let go of the watch. Description, Sol said, I'm beginning to think Dad did beat you in the head, sis. Description, Sol said, you say a human inside this pocket watch has the power to revive you, freeze time and control dragons? Description, Sol stopped laughing. He said, do you think I'm a fool or something, Scar? Now why don't you tell me the truth? I am telling you the truth, brother. The pocket watch. Description, before Scarlet could finish, Sol said, even if this human existed, why would this person choose you? Description, Sol said, if this pocket watch was actually anything special, why would it keep coming back to you? I don't know. But you saw for yourself how the watch can't be destroyed, and how it keeps coming back. Description,
Yes.
Sol said, let me tell you something, Scar. You're nothing without me. Description, Scarlet nodded. I know. You are my life, brother. Description, Sol said, you wouldn't have become the fire mage you are today without me. Thank you for everything you have done for me, brother. Description, Sol said, there's no way this human exists. You know how I know? How do you know, brother? Description, Sol said, there's no way this person would choose tame and boring you over me. Description, Scarlet swallowed hard. Description, the sound of footsteps can be heard approaching. Description, a group of mercenaries emerged from the path that led out of the forest. They walked over to Scarlet and Sol. Description, one of the mercenaries stepped forward and said, Scarlet Ignis? Description, before Scarlet could answer, Sol said, you guys are here for Volder, right? Description, the mercenary who stepped forward nodded. Description, Sol frowned and said, you guys are late. Description, Sol placed one hand on Scarlet's shoulder and said, let's make this quick. I got important things to do today. This is my sister, Scarlet. Description, Scarlet looks confused. What's going on, Sol? Description, the mercenary said, Scarlet Ignis, you're under arrest by order of King Janus Valder. I'm being arrested? For what? Description, the mercenary said, for aiding Luthor Timecrest in treason against the Valdorian Empire. Description, Scarlet froze. Luthor, ellipsis. Description, Scarlet trembled as a couple mercenaries seized her arms. She struggled to free herself. Description, Sol said, just go with them, Scar. That jerk Luthor was the one who made the memory deletion serum. Description, Sol said, I'm sure Valder will let you go soon. That treasonous jerk Luthor tricked you to help him submit his proposal. The only thing you're guilty of is stupidity. Description, Scarlet looks horrified. In a small voice she said, what did you tell the Valdorians, brother? Description, Sol said, when I figured the memory deletion proposal came from Luthor, I simply thought this is something King Janus should know about. Description, Sol said, turns out it was pretty valuable. Description, Sol eyed the mercenaries. He said, by the way, why did King Janus say? Description, Sol said,
Whoops.
turns out it was pretty valuable information indeed. The king paid me handsomely, Scarlet. We're rich again. Description, Sol eyed the mercenary. Description, Sol eyed the mercenaries. He said, by the way, why did King Janus send a bunch of mercenaries to arrest my sister? Is Valder out of soldiers, or something? Description, the mercenary said, we don't ask questions. We only do as we are paid. No, Sol. Please tell them to let me go. I have to attend the Iconic Guild recruiting event with you today. Description, Sol said, I'm afraid that won't be possible, Scar. But don't worry, I'll tell you later how much I dazzled at the event. Description, Sol looked gleeful as he said, today marks the rise of Sol Ignis and the downfall of Luthor Timecrest. No. Please don't go without me, Sol. Please let me be by your side. Description, Sol shrugged and said, there's really nothing I can do about these mercenaries, Scar. Description, Scarlet took a deep breath. Incendiatos Ultimus, Flame Master. Description, intricate red glyphs appeared on the back of Scarlet's hand. Description, the scars on Scarlet also glowed red, looking like glowing tattoos on her skin. Description, Sol's eyes widened as all the mercenaries began to fall. A red glow left their bodies and was sucked towards Scarlet. Description,
Whoa.
Sol shouted, what do you think you're doing, Scarlet? Description, Sol shouted, you're sucking away their body heat. Are you planning to blow us all up with fatal fever? Don't worry, brother. This isn't fatal fever. It's Flame Master. My Flame Master spell also draws body heat from those around me that I can use to power up my sensory radius and other spells. Description, Sol looked at the group of mercenaries, all curled up on the ground, shivering. But it doesn't have to end in an explosion like fatal fever. Description, Sol said, no way. People's heat are being drawn away, so you have to be using fatal fever. Do you feel cold, Sol? Description, Sol looks confused. He said, no, is something wrong with your fatal fever spell? Unlike fatal fever, with Flame Master, I can also choose who to draw heat. So that, to respond, unlike fatal fever, with Flame Master, I can also choose who to draw heat from that are within my radius. So that's why you don't feel cold. Description, Sol swallowed hard. Description, Sol said, what's the name of this spell you're using? Incendiatos Ultimus, Flame Master. Description, he clenched his fists and said, how did you get an Ultimus level spell? By training with the candle like I showed you. Description, Sol spat on the ground. He said, you actually learned an Ultimus spell from a candle? It started with the candle, but later I moved on to holding a trance while being burned by larger, open flames.
I have a feeling this is not gonna end well.
Description, Sol said, resisting arrest will only get you into more trouble with Valder. It's okay. I can deal with Valder later, ellipsis. I just want to be by your side on your important day, brother. Description, a look of fear and uncertainty spread across Sol's face as he looked at all the mercenaries taken down by Scarlet alone. Messenger. Description, he clenched his hands into fists and punched Scarlet in the stomach.
Dude!
Description, Scarlet keeled over and passed out. So, description, Scarlet keeled over and passed out. Sol caught her in his arms before she fell to the ground. He murmured, this is my day. Description, Sol swooped up Scarlet, before walking over to a mercenary and kicking him while he's down. Description, Sol shouted, get up you idiots. Description, Sol said, where did Valder find a bunch of idiots who can't even arrest a blind girl?
Okay, dude. You guys are overreact.
Description, Sol placed Scarlet on the ground in front of the mercenaries. He said, you're welcome. Description, the mercenaries all started to get up slowly. They looked at each other. Description, one of them said, she's your sister, right? Description, Sol said, I thought you didn't ask questions. Description, Kane came out of the house, staring in bewilderment at the scene. Kane said, what's going on? What are you doing to my daughter? Description, the mercenary swooped up Scarlet and said, Scarlet Ignis is under arrest by order of King Janus Valder. Description, Kane eyed Sol with anger. He said, this is your doing, isn't it, Sol? Description, Sol looked at the mercenaries and said, hey, do you guys want to arrest a child beater too by any chance?
Oh, for Pete's sake. So, I think you need to learn some things here.
Description: Kane looked helpless as the mercenaries walked away with his daughter. Description: As the mercenary walked away, one of them said, "This girl sure has a crappy brother." Description: Another mercenary said, "Who cares? I've seen worse families. By the way, aren't we supposed to find a pocket watch too?" Description: The mercenary carrying Scarlet said, "There's one on this girl's shorts. Is it the one?" Description: Another mercenary came up and examined the watch. He said, "It has to be." Description: Sounding less messenger. Description: Sounding less confident, he said, "I hope it is. I wouldn't want to disappoint the king with the deepest pockets in all of Valencia." Description: The mercenary holding Scarlet said, "Hi, Commander Valdem told us to close the pocket watch, right?" Description: The other mercenary said, "Oh, yeah, right." Description: The mercenary closed the pocket watch.
You have reached the end of Part 6. Please continue to the final part of Chapter 13, Timecrest 3, in Part 7. So that's it for today's video. If you guys have any more questions, please put them down in the comments below, or you may send them to info@TheTechPianoPlayerKid.com. You can also give me a text at 913-312-1325, and if you do not live in the United States, you can text me through WhatsApp and give me a call there as well. I also have a toll-free number that you can use to give me a call at 877-318-8775. Please also follow me and like my Facebook page, The Tech Piano Player Kid, and follow me on Twitter, tech_piano. And you can also join my discussion forum on my website where you can ask questions about technology and help to answer questions about technology for the blind and stuff like this by going to TheTechPianoPlayerKid.com and clicking on the discussion board page underneath the navigation bar menu where you can register for a free account and help to answer questions and ask questions if need to be. Please make sure that you get permission from your parents if you still need to do so before making an account, just to make sure that you're on the safe side and that you don't want to get in trouble because we don't want that to happen. And you can also subscribe to my monthly newsletter if you wish by going to my website, TheTechPianoPlayerKid.com. Again, if need to be, get permission from your parents just to be on the safe side. And you can unsubscribe at any time if you wish, and you have any trouble with unsubscribing or creating an account or deleting your account, please let me know, and I will do my best to help you out. Anyway, that's it for today's video. God bless you all, and peace. The Tech Piano Player Kid is out. Thank you for watching today's video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and leave a comment down below. For questions, please send an email to info@TheTechPianoPlayerKid.com. You can also give a call or text at 913-312-1325. And don't forget to like my Facebook page, The Tech Piano Player Kid, and follow me on Twitter, tech_piano. Black background with white text that reads The Tech Piano Player Kid displays on the screen with the same text written to the right in Braille, then fades to black.